Okay. Good morning, here we are at Samanavshi. Located in Movavi, Yaakov, number 6 in the Chanukah Yeshiva's place, Knesset. We're located close to the central base, central bus station here in Yerushalayim near Kodesh. We're getting ready for Hanukkah. We learned some psukim and some Rashis on Chumash, which are relevant to the menorah, and also how they help us appreciate more about the Mace of Hanukkah. Maybe we'll start reading the Pasuk Aleph here, Perek Chav Daled, Pasuk Aleph. Would you like to read?
Sure.
Go ahead.
V'yidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, Tzaves b'nei Yisrael v'ichu elecha shemen zayis zach, kasis la'ma'or la'alos ner tamid. Command the children of Israel to take fine olive oil.
Zach, which is clear.
Clear.
Yep.
Okay. To light. To bring up a near tamid, a permanent light.
Like a continual. We'll see what Rashi will explain about tamid. We'll see about that in a moment. But like to light continually.
Okay. Michutz la'paroches ha'edas b'ohel moed, outside of the curtain of testimony in the Ohel Moed. Yaroch osan Aaron me'erev ad boker. Aaron should light this from night until morning. Lifnei Adonai tamid. Huchos olam dorosechem. It should be lit before Hashem permanently. It is a everlasting commandment for generations.
Very good. Al menorah.
Okay. Al menorah hatahora yaroch es haneros lifnei Adonai tamid. On the pure menorah, you should light. You should bring up the lights before Hashem all the time, permanently.
Like continually.
Okay. So far.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Let's see some Rashis. Okay, Rashi says in the beginning of Pasuk Bey, Tzaves b'nei Yisrael. Go ahead, Peter.
Tzaves b'nei Yisrael, command children of Israel. Zu Parshas Mitzvah Haneros. This is the Parsha of Mitzvahs and Neros. Parshas Yata Tetzava Lo Nemru Ella Al Seder Melachos Hamishkan, and in Parsha Tetzava we're only talking about the order of the service in the Mishkan.
The Melechos, I mean, like the work that would have to be done for the construction of the
construct
Mishkan.
the Mishkan. The Furst Tzorech HaMenorah to
and there it had to be explained the needs of the menorah there.
To build a menorah. Okay. V'chein mashma v'atas.
So that's over there in Parshas Tetzava. That's talking about the actual construction of the Mishkan and the construction of the menorah.
V'ata sofcha l'tzava el bnei Yisrael al kach.
I mean, you, Moshe Rabbeinu, in the end, are going to be commanding the Jews about this. I mean, there'll be specific commandments about the menorah.
Okay. Shemen zayis zach, pure olive oil. Shlosha shemonim yotzi min hazayis. There are 3 types of oil that come out from an olive. Harishon kori zach. The first one is called zach, the pure. The hein meforshim be'menachos.
And I mean, the Rashi only explains about the first one is called zach, and the other 2, the whole sugya is explained over there in the Gemara and Menachos, and that's Torah's Kohanim. And in the Medrash Halacha,
okay.
Torah's Kohanim, right.
Okay, Tamid, permanently, Milaila Lalaila, from night to night, Kmo Ola Satamid, She'eno Ola Miyom Liyom. Just like the Tamid, which does not, only goes from day to day.
It's on a daily basis, right. Meaning, see, Tamid doesn't necessarily mean absolutely continually, permanently. It means on regularly.
Right.
Meaning it should be lit regularly every night, just like the Tamid should be given offered regularly every day. Very good.
Okay. Leparoches Ha'edus, the curtain of testimony. Shelifnei Ha'aron, which is in front of the Aron. Shehu Kori Edus, which is called testimony. Rosenu Darshu Al Ner Movavi, Shehu Edus L'Kol Boy Olam, and the Rabbanan explain on the westernmost candle that it is called Edus, for everything that comes into the world. Shashchina Shor B'Yisrael Shemosein Ba Shemen Kamidas Havroseha Mimena Haya Matkil Uva Haya Nisayim.
Okay, so we're going to work on this Rashi a bit. Okay, so the pasuk is making a reference that the menorah, right? That the reference of the parochas edus, right? The curtain of edus. So that was the curtain that was in front of the Aron, in the Kodesh Kedoshim. That was the Aron is called edus. Okay, so that's why it's called the parochas edus. Now that's Pashut Pshat in the pasuk. Rabbeinu Darshu, they elaborate on this, and it's referring to the Ner Movavi. Shalom, good morning, Roy. How are you today?
Morning.
Good to see you.
How are you?
Come join us. We're just getting started here. Learning a little Chumash with Rashi. It's going to help us understand and appreciate Hanukkah a little bit better. Hopefully. Asking. Just to catch you up with where we are, we're learning the psukim here in Pasuk in Vayikra, Pasuk in Parshas Emor, Perek Chafdal, Pasuk Aleph, through a few psukim there. And Moshe was told by Hashem that he should Sabes Bnei Yisrael Yikru Aleh Shemen Zayzach Kasis. That Hashem told Moshe to command the Jewish people that they should take for themselves pure crushed olive oil, the mu'ur for light, and the olas ner tamid. They should have a continual ner always burning, right? But it doesn't mean Rashi doesn't mean always. I mean it is a regularly burning. Tamid means regularly, not continually. It means regularly burning. Meaning it would be lit from night to night.
So this is when the temple was being first
This was the Mishkan.
Mishkan.
The Mishkan, originally the Mishkan over in the Midbar, the 40 years in the Midbar, Mishkan. Then the Beis Hamikdash. Did we show it in the Beis Hamikdash shade? Yeah. And it should be mechutz leparochas ha'edus b'ol moed v'arucho aram me'erev ad boike l'fnei Hashem tamid ukas olam l'dorasei. So now Rashi, that's the Rashi we're dealing with now. The top line in the outside column, what's this reference to the curtain of testimony? The Edus, Rashi says, why is it called the Parokas Edus? Shelifnei Aron. It was before the Aron, where they kept the Lukas Abris, right? That was in the Kodesh Kedoshim, and that was the Aron was called Edus because it had the Lukas that represented the contract, so to speak, between Klal Yisrael and the Ribono Shel Olam. So now Rabbeinu Darshu, they elaborate on this. Al Ner Movavi, the Edus that's mentioned here in the pasuk is an Edus, a testimony that's given by the Ner Movavi. That the Ner Movavi, the most western Ner of the menorah, that is a testimony. What is it a testimony? Rashi says, L'kol bo'olam, for the whole world. The whole world will know through the Ner Movavi Shashchina Shor B'Yisrael, that the presence of the Kadosh Baruch Hu dwells amongst the Jews. Why? Mosein Ba Shemen Kemidis Avrusecha, that the part of the mitzvah of lighting the menorah was that each of the 7 nairs had to have a specific amount of oil added to it before it was lit, and each one received the same amount. Nevertheless, right, nevertheless, that Ner Movavi, Mimeno Haya Matil, and you started lighting from the Ner Movavi, Uba Haya Masami, and that would be the last one to go out, right? So you see that there was a special Siyata Dishmaya, a special length of burning time that the Ner Movavi had, even though it was when it was first lit. So the fact that it was burning longer than the other ones gave testimony to the fact that the Shekhinah is dwells amongst the Jewish people. So that's one point we want to stop and talk about here, that the goal, as we mentioned a few times before, the goal of the enemies of the Jews at the time of Hanukkah was specifically the Beis Hamikdash, specifically the Avodah, and specifically the menorah. They had specific intentions to disrupt the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash, and specifically to disrupt the lighting of the menorah, because this is what the menorah represented. The menorah represented a connection between Klal Yisrael and the Rebbeinu Shalom. That the menorah gave Eidos, testimony that the Shekhinah dwelled amongst the Jews. If they could prevent us from doing that, that would be a siman, that would be an indication that Has V'Sholem, heaven forbid, the Shekhinah would no longer be amongst the Jewish people, which is what they wanted to achieve, and that's what they tried to achieve. Because, as we learned previously, their goal was to uproot Torah and mitzvahs from the Jewish people, because they were under the misconception. They thought that by taking Torah and mitzvahs away from Klal Yisrael, that would rend asunder the relationship between Klal Yisrael and the Rebbeinu Shalom and Kadosh Baruch Hu. Right? In fact, it's not true. The victory of the Hashmonoim proved, because through those miraculous events which took place during the wars of Hanukkah, those miraculous nisim and niflois that took place were proof that, in spite of the fact that large numbers of the Jews had forsaken Torah, had forsaken mitzvahs, had assimilated completely, absolutely. There, as we say in the Yal Nisim, it was ma'at. There was ma'at. There were very, very few. The 12 sons of the Hashmonoim and Eliezer. Actually, we learned the Rashi in Devarim last week. Moshe Rabbeinu prayed when for Shevet Levi, when he was leaving this world. Moshe Rabbeinu gave brachas to all the Shvatim, and for Shevet Levi, one of the things Rashi explains there, he gave special prayer to the Hashmonoim that they would be victorious over the enemies during the time of Hanukkah. And the Hashmonoim, by regaining the Beis Hamikdash, regaining the Avodah, regaining the menorah, they proved that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was still with us, even though that they were far, far, far from Torah, far, far from mitzvahs. Nevertheless, that proved that HaKadosh Baruch Hu cherishes the relationship with the Jewish people, in spite of the fact we may not have Torah, we may not have mitzvahs. Our relationship remains with the Kadosh Baruch Hu like the relationship between the son and the father. That never changes. That's a relationship which is a relationship tivi. It's a natural relationship between the son and the father. As disrespectful and as far from the wishes of the father the son may be, he always remains a son. He remains a son. Likewise, Klal Yisrael, even if we may stray very far from the true Ratzon, the true will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, nevertheless we remain children, banim Hashem, banim to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, banim to Hashem.
We're talking about the Mishkan.
Yes.
The altar was in the Mishkan as well.
Yes.
And the fire and the smoke going up and see as well. So that was another.
There were many miracles which
Okay,
right.
so so that's what I want to ask. There was all these other miracles or the other signs, miraculous signs. Put those two words together. The miraculous signs of Hashem being there. Why focus on the menorah itself when perhaps even the the Mizbeach with its miracles was out in the open, even more out in the open, and that. Anyway, so that's.
Well, so you're asking. I think I see a couple of different questions in you're asking. Number one, in general, asking why specifically the Ner Movavi. It's not the menorah, because we're learning Rashi's explain. It's not simply the menorah. It's specifically the Ner Movavi, that most western Ner of the menorah, right? Which was apparently was close to the parochus, right? Close to the parochus. So that's number one. Number two, you're asking. There were many other nisim and more open ones. Meaning, who in fact could see this? Meaning, it was only the Kohen Gadol was allowed to go into the this was outside the Kodesh Kedoshim, right?
I was going to ask more specifically before, but then I broadened it by. I was going to ask specifically, how did the rest of the world be influenced by something that's hidden? Basically?
A perfect, beautiful question, which I don't have an answer for.
No? You? No?
I have to work on it.
If I had an answer for it, I wouldn't be here.
Sorry, what's your name?
Lorne.
Reuven?
Lorne.
Lauren.
Yeah.
L.
L-O-R-N-E.
Lauren, okay.
Asar Nisim Nasu Lavosinu Beis Hamikdash. There were 10 miracles that took place in the Beis Hamikdash. Lohifla Isha Mireas Basar Kodesh. A woman did not miscarry because of the smell of the sacrificial meats.
Good, very good.
Okay, Velo Hisriach Basar HaKodesh B'Olam, and the meats and sacrifices didn't spoil the whole time.
Good.
Lo Nir Zavu V'Beis HaMitbachayim. You didn't see flies in the room of the slaughterers.
Right. There was a section in the northern part of the by the Mizbeach there with that's where the shechting, the slaughter of the korbanos, the sacrifice was made in that spot.
Right.
And then obviously you know that the flies are attracted to meat and blood and all this, and there was never a fly seen there.
Velo Asa Keri, the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippurim, and the Kohen Gadol never became Balkari on Yom Kippurim. Velo Kivu Hadishamim Eshel Atze Hamaracha, and the rain. I guess the rain never put out the fire from the top of the Mizbeach.
Very good.
Okay, Velo Nitzcha Haruach Es Ha'omod Ha'ashan, and I guess the wind didn't blow the smoke went straight up. The wind didn't disturb the smoke that was coming up from the Mizbeach.
Correct.
Velo Nimsa Psul Be'omer Rishay Alechem. The lechem upon him. There was never a psul in the omer. I don't know what the psul or the shtei lechem or the lechem upon him. The various mincha offerings that were brought.
Yes.
Let's see. Omdim, Sefufim, Umishtachavim, Rivachim.
They would be standing. I mean, the people gathered in
Oh,
the
they had
courtyard.
when the people were standing there, they were packed in together, but they still had room where they had to do the Mishachava on I guess Yom Kippur they were talking about.
Yeah.
But probably on Yom Kippur to bow down.
Yep. Very good.
V'lo Hiku Hizik Nachash.
Good. A snake.
The Ikrav, the Yerushalayim, the Olam, there were not snakes or scorpions.
That damaged. There was never a damage. They never damaged a snake or a scorpion. Anybody in Yerushalayim ever.
Okay. V'lo Amar Adam Haveru Tsarli Hamakom She'ilu B'Yerushalayim. Nobody ever went to Yerushalayim and couldn't find a place to stay when they wanted to come up for Oli Regel.
Very good. Okay, that's the Mishnah. Those are the 10 things. I didn't count them, but I'll trust the Mishnah that's 10. Okay. Any comments about what we just learned?
Yes.
Okay. That's why I'm asking. Very good. I'm glad you said that. Otherwise, I'd have to make a comment.
Okay, no, let you make a comment.
No. I'm here for your service, serving you. Go ahead. What do you have
I
to
made
say?
you comment.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Okay, I was thinking the most relevant one there might be about the crowding together and yet they prostrated themselves in ample space.
Okay. Now, why was that the most relevant?
I think it might. I don't know if it is, but I think it might be because this seems to be a mucking around. What do you call it?
Public.
It seems to be a. What's the word?
I know the feeling.
When we're mucking around with space and time.
Okay.
And if this is so, then probably that relates to the ability of the world to see and be aware of the lights, because you'd have to alter.
Right.
You have to alter time and space in order for the idea of the lights to come out to make themselves see.
Well, that's the question. How we usually started. Your original question was, how is this? The lights aren't seen, maybe except maybe by one or a few Kohanim. They go into the Hekel. So no. So how do we see from this Mishnah? How do we see that the lights were seen?
No, it's not listed before the...
No, it's not listed. It's not listed. I mean, and not only that, there were, besides these 10, there were many other miracles that were there at the time. They actually, if we take time to learn this a little bit more in detail, we'll with the commentaries, we'll see a lot of things mentioned here. So. Standing up crowdedly and bowing down with room, right? So that, as you said, that's sort of like something which is
manipulating.
Yeah, warping. You have time warps. You have space warps. So you have a space
I'm a
warp.
sci-fi fan, you see.
Excuse me, what?
I'm a sci-fi fan, you see.
No, I didn't hear you.
I'm a science fiction
Oh,
fan.
yeah.
So typically it's possible.
So you have a time warp. You have a space warp. So you have a space warp. Okay, there's no time warp. There's a space warp. Okay, so fine. So there was space warps. No problem, right? You have a whole collection of different miracles, and if you try and make some type of a little bit of an analysis about these miracles that they made, there's a whole gamut, whole spectrum of miracles which were existing on different levels. Meaning, for example, this one we just spoke about now. That's a time warp. That's a time warp, right? Excuse me, a space warp, right? It's changing the dimensions of what people experienced in the base of English, right? Now, for example, another one which was, let me put it this way. Think about these miracles for a moment. Which is not the most incredible of them, but what would be the most far-fetched? Meaning, let me put it this way. I don't mean that. I mean like this. Which would be the? Because again, we're trying to think. Our question here with this Rashi is, how is this verification? We want to have some verification by the Ner Movavi that there's Shekhinah b'Yisrael. How does that verify for the rest of the world? How does that testify for the rest of the world that there's Shekhinah b'Tol Chal Yisrael? Right? That's our question. So
it would seem that the fact that the smoke was not dispersed by the wind would be a better simon because since the smoke went up and was visible outside of the base of Mikdash, certainly within all of Yerushalayim, not the surrounding areas, it's a much more recognizable event.
That's on a grand scale. You can see that for miles and miles. Right? You can see that. That's you look at some of these pictures, these drawings they make. It's a pillar of smoke, of light, of smoke. Everything's going straight up to the heavens, through the clouds, through everything that's going. Especially if it's a windy, rainy day, and it's there. So that's a spectacular thing. That's a spectacular thing. Now, in contrast, so that would be, I would say, the most verifiable, the most, what we call Tainus to Hanukkah. When we light the menorah, we want to achieve Persumi Nisa. We want to receive publicity for the miracle.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to publicize the fact that the Shekhinah is B'tok Yisrael, that Anand Ashen, going straight up, in spite of the fact that there might be winds, that's a very public demonstration. Of all these things, let's think a moment, what is the least verifiable? What is the least spectacular? I don't know, it's least spectacular, perhaps, if you want to put it that way. What's the least public miracle of these miracles that we have here? Why do you say the fly?
Away from the public, isn't it? The place where the shepherd is.
Yeah, in certain ways. Not everyone could go there, that's for sure. Yeah, not everyone was there.
And even if you could see inside, from outside, you wouldn't have really been aware of the lack of flies.
That's a good point. Any others that might be close to that?
The women not miscarrying, because that's be very private.
People usually wouldn't.
You don't put it on the front page of the newspaper or anything like that.
Right. So it says here, the women didn't miscarry because of the aroma of the meat.
So that's a good point. Meaning, maybe it didn't say a woman would never miscarry.
Right.
Right. By the Nachash and the Akra of the scorpions and the snakes, it said they never did any damage in Yerushalayim at all. Right. So that's also try and verify that how are you going to know what the miscarriage? So there could have been miscarriages, but it would never be attributed to the reich of the basar.
Does that mean that if a pregnant woman did smell the korban, that she would miscarry?
Okay, well, we know there is such a thing. You want to say something?
Well, the other thing is that the women were certainly not inside the Zara, so for them to be able to smell the aroma of the carbonas at all, is something, because how far away can I smell something? I can't smell something that's on the other side of the room right now. So, how am I going to smell the aroma of the carbonas out from outside the base of Mikdash?
Maybe you could. Maybe it was.
Apparently you could because at least it should be within the earshot, nose shot. Should somebody the smell of the kachim should be some reachable, accessible by some people, some women, right? But nevertheless, they never. And we know that they're women that they're pregnant, that they get a desire for some kind of food because they smell something. You need to feed them, because if they don't, it could cause Chas v'Sholom miscarriage. That's also something which is not. How can you prove that if there was a miscarriage? Can you prove it was because of that, and prove that all the ones that happened they weren't because of that? But I think it could be like we usually said. It could be the least spectacular, the least verifiable would be the case of the fly. How are we ever going to know? Who's going to be able to know and prove that a fly never came into the base mitbachim? How can you? Who's standing guard, watching for flies?
Maybe even in a much more personal one, then about the high priest, a ceremonial mission.
Oh,
That would be.
that would be known because he'd have to withdraw from his service. Everyone would know that.
Oh, yeah,
He would that would be a very not only public but very embarrassing thing for him. And it says that if it never happened, then it never, because he'd be puzzled to do the avoda. He'd have to tire himself in the mikveh, and it takes several days, whatever. But at least by Shemesh, he wouldn't be able to do the avoda at least for that one day.
Okay.
Right? So. But flies, how are we supposed to know? And we're talking about, if we spend time on this tomorrow more and then look at the Meforshim, we'll see this is primarily, most of these I think are primarily in the Bias Rishon, not necessarily in the Bias Sheni, the second bias, but we're talking about a time period of like 400 years plus. Right? You know, who in the world can ever give testimony that for 400 years a fly never, came into the Beit Machim. And if you can't, if it's such a thing which is so sussum, it's so concealed, how can that be a proof for anything? It's so concealed and so unknowable by any human. You can't know it by any human. Right? Nevertheless, you see that Chazal did mention it. Right? Similarly, I want to say that we have the Ner Movavi. The Ner Movavi, even though it's concealed, right, it seems to be sufficient. In spite of its concealment, it still could be an Avis. It still could be an Avis.
Asking about this issue itself, is there any reason for the order?
I'm not sure. I was thinking about that as well. If we just look at it very briefly, it talks about the woman with the miscarriage and winds up with the sleeping in Shalim, everything in between. So I'm not sure if there's an order. If it's listed in an order, since it's Chazal, there should be some sense to the order that it's listed in. And I'm sure you could make sense and give some reason and rhyme to how and why it's listed in this way. But that takes a little time and effort to work it out, but it comes, I have no doubt it can be done. Okay, let's we'll maybe spend time on that tomorrow, more of this on the Mishnah Avos. But I just want to return to the Rashis here, okay? Turn to the Rashis. We're in the middle of the Rashis. The Rashi says here, we are so Aaron me'erev ad boiker. Aaron should arrange them and have them see fit that they lit from the evening until the morning. Okay. Like to continue the Rashis? A few more Rashis here.
Sure. Yeah. Yaroch also Arichas Haruya the Midas Kol HaLaila. You should set it up in order that the candle should be lit all night. Yeshua Hachamim Chatzi Lug, and the Chachamim determined this. The shear for this was a half a log. The Chol Near for each light. Behin Kedai Ach Lelele Tekufas Teves Midazu Ukva Lahem. And this is enough. They've determined that this was enough during Teves, which is the winter, which would have the longest nights. You need the most oil for that, and I guess they made that a fixed amount for all the time.
Right. Okay. So this is a point I want to stop on a moment. So we have Rashi telling us that it was a chitzi lug, a half of a lug for each ner. So every day you needed how many lugs did you need of oil for the menorah?
How many
Lugs.
3.5.
We have seven lights. Each ner required a half a lug. Excuse me. Each ner required a half a lug. 7 halves is 3.5. So, how much is a lug? If I'm not mistaken.
Revius is like 4 ounces. So the lug would be 16 ounces.
16 ounces. 16 ounces, which is That's what how much is a pint? A pint is what, 4 ounces? I forgot.
I have the same problem with it. I never remember.
16 ounces.
16 ounces.
No.
Yeah, a gallon is 32, 32?
64.
64. Oh, so 4 pints in a gallon.
Right.
Right, so 16 is a quarter of a gallon, so 1 pint. So that's about a pint. Each lube is about a pint.
Okay. So 4 pints, a half a gallon.
Half a gallon. Half a gallon. So, and we say that they found a pak shemen with the pasima of the Kohen Gadol, right? There was enough to last for 1 night. So they found a pak shemen, which was about a half a gallon's worth. Right?
That was for one light.
That was for lighting the menorah 1 time. 7 lights.
Oh, seven
Lights each. A loop for each light. Right, for each light. So therefore, it was 7 lubes, which is 3.5 lubes. 3.5 lubes, and that means about a half a gallon. That's a fair amount of oil. Yeah, that's a nice amount, no? You know, when kids, I grew up thinking it was a little thing, little thing like that. It's kind of a,
well, I mentioned that's probably half a
that's good. Okay, something to work on exactly. Good. Okay, we'll stop now. We have to get ready. There's going to more here in another 5-10 minutes. More here, and then we can work on this a little bit more tomorrow at this time. To finish up the Rashis, we will go a little bit more into that Mishnah Avos. It's very worthwhile spending time on that Mishnah Avos, and to understand, the miracles that took place in the base of Mikdash there, when and which ones, and a little bit more details. And we still have to work on that question of yours, Rory, about the Ner Movavi, or that's the Edis. How could that be the Edis? The Kol Boy Oilam. Okay, Mitch Hashem tomorrow. Okay. All right. Good. The editor will take care of it.
Okay.
And return to account. Give it a rest.